How you doing, family? This is Den Mother Amanda coming back live again. Welcome to my channel. Glad to see all of you here. If anyone could get here while I'm live, that's okay. If not, hopefully y'all watch or are able to watch it, and would please watch all of it. Another important discussion, and I think I've had discussions before on this, and I'm always welcome to feedback. And That would be amazing, and maybe something else that I might be able to talk about or ideas around certain topics would be definitely appreciated, and I'll do my best to get at them. Yeah, okay. I want to discuss transsexual, transgender, and why gender dysphoria is needed. I'm also going to talk a little bit about transmaxing and some of the issues that I have that I see with this as it pertains to all of these pertain to medically transitioning for us who actually really need it. And as it pertains to our health insurance, paying and being willing to pay for trans medical procedures and surgical procedures and supplies that we need for our medical transition. Most of y'all know I was born biologically male. I'll be that until I die, and I'm medically transitioning for the appearance of female to match my wish that I would have been born female. And I know I'm never going to be able to biologically be a female, and I've been able to be okay with that. You know, people do perceive me as female, and I'm totally happy with that. Uh, Now to get into it, and talk about transsexual, transgender, and transmaxing. Okay, it seems as though transsexual is the only one that solely covers medical transition for us who have gender dysphoria, which means it's not an umbrella term as transgender has become. Although some who are trans can claim to be transgender, uh, do have legitimate gender dysphoria and medically transition. Just know that you can fall into both categories, transgender and transsexual. It's transsexual is not as bad. It's not an ugly word, and it hasn't been. Um, and I don't have I typically normally don't have problems with transgender people who fall under that category. The problem that I do have with it is that there are a whole bunch out there saying that you don't need gender dysphoria to medically transition. If you don't have gender dysphoria, you have no reason to transition medically, in my belief. Okay. And I think that's where I believe that's where transmaxing comes in, and incels and people that have AGP, autogynephilia, which men do have, biological men, and it's a sexual gratification. Imagining or seeing yourself as a woman, or feeling as a woman for sexual gratification. Incels. It's just. I guess they because they think they cannot get partners that are female, and I guess they wanna. They're doing it to just appropriate being female so they can get sexual gratification and get more dates. Okay, and some are transitioning to go into lesbian spaces and female spaces for sexual gratification only. And that's pretty sick. Medically transitioning to be able to get into women's spaces for sexual desire. There are issues there when people do that. Okay, the best way to deal with that is to go to a mental health therapist, and that is totally okay to do that. It's a way to get healthier with you if you're having those issues wanting to go into women's spaces for sexual gratification. Maybe with a therapist you can figure something out that will work for you, so that you can get dates and have a relationship with a female, whether that be a biological female, a trans female, or what have you. What's happening with that, and those who are claiming you don't need gender dysphoria to medically transition, what it's doing is it's causing harm, actively causing harm to those of us who have gender dysphoria and need these medical procedures along with our medication. Okay. And how do I know this? Well, people have talked about it on their channels. Okay. And right now I'm going through a hard time with my medical insurance for a transgender procedure called FFS, facial feminization surgery. They've denied it twice. And I believe it's because transgender people and transmaxers that don't have gender dysphoria are raising up a big holler about that. And insurance companies are listening to this stuff and making it hard for us who have gender dysphoria to get the medical treatment we so desperately need. Because it's very debilitating at times, and I'm so far lucky I can still get my medication. I've had 2 surgeries already. I've got one that was one more bottom surgery that was approved. Hopefully I'll be doing that next month in June. God willing, or your higher power, or a higher power willing, that approval still stays. My big concerns causing issues with my gender dysphoria and my depression is the denial for facial feminization. Okay, I've got an income, but it's very limited. And I cannot afford to pay for the surgeries, along with many others. Okay, and that's something I'm working on changing to be able to better afford things that are needed for me. And I want to try to start a nonprofit and social enterprise for those of us who are struggling with getting medical treatments, for those of us who are actually or do actually have gender dysphoria, because it is debilitating. And also it's going to help people get to where they need to be for surgeries if they live a distance more than an hour to an hour and a half away from where they have to have their medical surgeries. Because when we have these, we have to stay for 2 to 4 weeks within an hour to an hour and a half from a location where we have our surgeries, just in case something does go wrong and we need to be back there for something pressing issue that may have maybe a complication. And it can get expensive. And I was just down in New Jersey, right next to the George Washington Bridge, with a person that had their bottom surgery last month. and a motel room cost her a little over $3,000, and that's just for a motel room. That's one of the cheaper motel rooms. It was a nice motel room, and it was. The people there were very nice. Um, it was at least it was in New Jersey, just the other side, just the New Jersey side of the George Washington Bridge from New York City. God, I know the name of it's right on the tip of my tongue, and it's escaping me right now. I will more than likely remember it at some point, and I'll let you know what motel it was. Um, like I said, the stuff that's going on in the LGBT plus community with this stuff is causing problems, serious problems for us who are transsexuals, needing these medical surgical procedures. They're expensive, and I understand why sometimes insurance companies may not want to pay for them. Um, it's usually typically covered because of gender dysphoria, which is a medical issue. Okay. It used to be gender identity disorder, and I believe it is a disorder. There's nothing wrong with having a disorder. I'm taking care of it to reduce the depression and so that it isn't as bad as it was before I started my transition. And some of the dysphoria has been relieved, and I'm probably quite a bit, and there's still quite a bit to go. I probably won't ever get totally over the gender dysphoria, but I'll get where it's a whole lot better to manage, easier to manage. Although I am managing now. Okay, and there are other people out there that may not and aren't managing as well as I and others may be managing it. We all know that there's a high suicide attempt and a high suicide rate. Those who are transgender and transsexual and wanting to get the medical treatments for medically transitioning. If it were me, and I would not want to be doing things that are gonna interfere with those who are suffering with gender dysphoria and gender identity disorders, for them to be able to get the medical treatments and medical medications and therapy, mental health therapy that they need. I've also heard of that the trans maxers are outright lying to therapists so they can be diagnosed with gender dysphoria. Insurance companies are going to hear that. They look into that stuff hard. They have people that look into that stuff, and people that are online like what I am now, and talking about that and telling people exactly what to say, and they don't legitimately have gender dysphoria, and that is wrong. That is wrong. Because if we start losing our benefits that we have from insurance companies to help pay for this, the suicide rate and attempts are going to go up. That's a guarantee. They will go up. And I'm struggling now with the depression from the gender dysphoria from 2 different denials from my insurance company. I'm struggling. I don't have any suicidal ideations now, but I'm struggling. Okay, and it's hard. It really is hard. I get times where I just don't want to go out and do a thing, and I've been holding off on putting this out because I don't want to come off in other lives that I've come off as being angry, which I was and I am. And it's better to be calm about it and explain and legitimately talk about this and hopefully have conversations, I know, that are filled with care and compassion. and empathy for those that are struggling with gender dysphoria. Oh, I hope my mascara doesn't start running. I'm starting to tear up a little bit because it is hard. None of this is easy. None of it. Or with anything else when it comes to depression or depression and anxiety both. It's very hard. There are avenues to get treatment for depression. There's therapy. There's also medications. Might not need heavy doses of medications for it. I'm on low dose medications for depression. One of my scripts is for depression and arthritis, fibromyalgia, and neuropathy. It's a combination medication. There's nothing wrong with taking medications to help you, as long as it works. And we go in there and talk with our therapists and our doctors honestly about what's going on. And that's why we need to have honest conversations about this being transsexual, transgender, transmaxing, incel, and AGP, and gender dysphoria. I don't want to see any harm come to people. I really don't. I want people to live as comfortable and safe and as happy as possible. We can't do it if we're lying to people about having gender dysphoria, or telling people that gender dysphoria is not needed to medically transition. If you don't have gender dysphoria, whether you're transmaxer or transgender or even the other one, what is your motivation to medically transition for? Me, I believe when people are medically transitioning and don't have gender dysphoria, you're doing it to cause harm to women and girls if you're doing the male to female transition. Those of us who are actually really transsexual and doing it medically with gender dysphoria, gender identity disorder, we want to fit in and be able to do the things in public as women do, and have the physical appearance of a woman, a female, because that's all we'll ever have is the appearance, and have mannerisms of femininity, being female, being a woman. And I have been able to get into women's spaces without problems, although I don't go into women's locker rooms to take a shower as of yet. So I haven't had the bottom surgery yet. And that's not good for women's mental health. I don't go in unshaved to restrooms. And I don't go into locker rooms unshaved if I go into locker rooms that are with female spaces. It's not right. I have no business instilling fear into females. Biological females, period. End of story. Nobody does. Nobody. If that's what you're doing, you're sick. You need help. Please get it. Please. This is going to be destroying the lives of us who are really have gender dysphoria, gender identity disorder. and it's wrong. Please do the right thing. If you're transitioning, transition for the right reasons. Because you want to live in a female spaces and be comfortable and not cause any fear or harm. Because causing fear is causing harm. No ifs, ands, or buts. Fear is harm. Don't have any business doing that. May not be physical, that does not necessarily have to be physical harm, which is a crime. But mental and emotional stuff is harm. Okay? And it used to be very illegal to do those things. Especially going into women's spaces, not even trying to fit in. Whether you're male or female. It's just gotten way out of control. Just having to say I'm trans and be able to get into women's or men's spaces. There's women that do it too. Very, 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 very few that I've seen and heard of, but there are some that do it. It's mostly male to female. Men saying that they're trans when they're really not. Stop. That I'm very adamant about. That will not change for any reason. Just the stuff that's causing harm when it comes to medical benefits for us that are trans and other things that are making it hard for us to be out in public if people know that we are trans. We want to be seen as either men or women, whether it be female to male or male to female. We want to be seen physically and have the mannerisms of the opposite sex. We'll never be the opposite sex biologically, ever, never, ever, ever. We want to appear as if we are. And it's difficult already without having all this extra stuff that the community is bringing in, the crap that is being brought in. That is and will cause us to have problems with medical benefits. It's already happening in some states. I don't believe children should medically transition, but therapy, absolutely, real therapy. You can affirm a child without medically transitioning a child and help them if they're really trans. If you don't give them any medications, 80%, and it's already been a proven fact, 80% will not medically transition if they go through puberty. And it's also a proven fact that if you start a child on hormone blockers, then go take them straight into cross-sex hormones, whether it be female to male on testosterone or male to female on estrogen, they will invariably 80%, 80 to 95% of them will medically transition. And there's a world of problems that come along with that. Medical problems. Not despite that the risks of surgery, any kind of surgery, it can have on a person's body. Why would you want that for a child that is not going to have any kind of future as an adult for gratification with a partner? Not be able to have biological children of their own if that's what they would have wanted to do. That's harm. That is harm. I don't know a lot about some of the procedures and effects that go from female to male, other than hearing about vaginal atrophy, and that is deadly. Male to female, there's testicular atrophy also, and that could be deadly. And it's starting on puberty blockers going straight into hormone therapy. Bottom surgery is extremely difficult, or may not be able to have it. The person may not be able to have it at all because there's not enough of the body part that's needed for vaginoplasty surgery. And the surgery is already long enough and potentially dangerous enough. It is dangerous enough. And like I said, my friend just had vaginoplasty done. It was a little over 4 hour surgery. A lot of things can accidentally go wrong, even with people that are in the best of health. Excess bleeding that may not be able to be stopped. And that's always a possibility on any surgery. Any surgery. Just going to start kids out on this that don't have enough material to use. Stops brain development from developing to full maturity. Hormone blockers have also have been cited as causing brain swelling and temporary to permanent blindness because of brain swelling. You want to put children through this? Or take the risk of letting children go through this? Any of it? Where's the compassion? The caring? Okay? Because as an adult, I can better understand some of the dangers of medical transitioning. Yeah, some of the dangers of medical transitioning. Okay, there's always things that can go wrong. It's not perfect. All I know is that some of this garbage is being said by some of the LGBT, mostly the T in this, and others that go T and whatever else. It's causing legitimate harm. And we need to try to mitigate that part of it. And be an adult. So as an adult, people have a better understanding of what can be a complication, the complications and the dangers that can arise in medically transitioning. Because it's already difficult enough without that extra. All the extra garbage is coming out of the trans plus community. There's probably some coming out of it, and there's others, allies that are doing it too. Not as much, but it's also in the LGB part of it that's coming out. That's also saying that too. Not a lot, very few. And those of us who are in the community, the LGBT plus community, thank you for being in the fight. We need more. Uh, it's heartbreaking. It really is. So it's just, I don't know. I think I've probably said enough. So please, 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 really, really deeply consider what you're doing as it pertains to medical transition. Do it for the right reasons. If you really have gender dysphoria, then yes. If not, please stop. Stop with all the garbage. It's not right. You're hurting people. And I don't believe you really want to do that. I really sincerely hope that it's a belief that you don't want to be causing harm to others. And I can sympathize with your struggles with whatever's going on. Find some help so it's not as glaring and it's manageable. Because I want your best interest. I've got your best interest at heart too. I want you to be mentally healthy with whatever's going on, and physically healthy. Is both of those, mental and physical health, as good as possible. I really sincerely do mean that. Until next time, if nobody has told you that they love you today, I sincerely love you all. And have a great rest of your day, no matter what part of the day you're in. Bye for now.